Hello again, welcome back everyone. Liquorhound here with you. Thank you for joining me once again for another spirit review video. And today we're going to be taking a look at the latest release from the Colonel E.H. Taylor line of bourbons, this being the Amaranth Grain of the Gods. Now this bottle is still going to be released as a bottled in bond, so we know it's going to be 100 proof. Just like the majority of the E.H. Taylors, the only exception is going to be the barrel proof release that comes out every year. And matter of fact, what I have showcased here beside this new Amaranth are the other very limited releases of the E.H. Taylor line, going back to the original Sour Mash, the Tornado Survivor Warehouse C, the Cured Oak, the Seasoned Wood, and the 4 Grain. Now, the majority of these were one-time releases, and because of that, they became very collectible. The only exception to that is going to be the 4 Grain. The 4 Grain actually got released in 2017 and once again in 2018, but they have since said that that was the final release, so no more 4 Grain. So each of these are very limited, very rare, and that is exactly what they said about this Amaranth. They said there wasn't going to be a lot to go around. They also talked about how it is a one-time release. So while the retail pricing on it should be around $70, on the retail shelves, I have seen them as high as maybe about $140. That's the retail price. Of course, you know, that's just store markup. You're going to get those other little small stores that are going to try to price gouge you on it. So there's going to be some, I'm sure they're going to have this on their shelves for $800, $1,000 because that is what's happened to some of the older, more collectible expressions. And I guess that's what they're probably going to do. Now, do I think it's worth that? Well, that's what we're going to find out today because I'm going to actually be nosing and tasting this for you coming up. All right. Now, as far as what goes into this Amaranth Grain of the Gods, we do know that it is most likely Buffalo Trace's Mash Bill number 1. And that's going to contain roughly about 10% typically rye as the second grain. So I'm imagining it's probably about 85% corn, about, 10%, let's just say, rye, and then 5% barley. Well, in this case, that 10% rye is going to be switched with Amaranth Grain. Now, what is Amaranth Grain? Amaranth Grain is actually an old grain, an ancient grain that's been cultivated for some 8,000 years. Going back to the Aztec civilization, they always relied on that grain heavily, and then for whatever reason it became lost and was not used really anymore for many, many centuries. Well, now we're starting to see it, I will say that, but except in Peru. Peru has been using it, and as a matter of fact, they still cultivate a lot of it in Peru. But as far as the rest of the world, we're just now getting back on board with this grain. Some people are calling it a superfood because it has a lot of nutritional value that we don't find in our currently consumed grains. Anyway, that's what amaranth is. It is also known as a weed because there's so many different species of it. Some are known as weeds, some are known as grains. Anyway, it's a big species. Point is that this is the grain version of that. And we're going to see what it does to this whiskey after it's been aged about 10 plus years, because they have kind of leaked that out. And it's no age statement, but they have said it's a little over 10 years old. All right, on the nose. Wow. The one thing I noticed is when we open this one, big butterscotch, caramel, a little bit of brown sugar. So it is very, very rich and sweet. A little bit of coconut coming out of the glass. That's always a good thing in a bourbon. Lots of red berries. A little bit of red licorice as well. Cinnamon. Wow, you got to fight through that sweetness. That sweetness level's really bumped here. Yeah, the red berries, the licorice. There's a good amount of sweet oak as well coming through. Almost a little, what would I call this? Almost like a little bit of an apple pie crust in this one. But overall, it's pretty deep with the nose of it being a lot of brown sugar, caramel, and then butterscotch. It's pretty rich in that note. But there's also a little bit of mint. Yeah, and it's almost Play-Doh. But not quite. It's just the way that fruit the red fruit, the licorice, the sweet doughiness kind of happening, that apple crust type situation, those are melding into what I almost know is this Play-Doh there. And we all know what that smells like. But overall, really, really solid nose. Let's go ahead and taste it and see what we think. Wow, nice. Whoa, bang. About a medium, just over medium viscosity. Wow, okay. Here goes the one to judge. Coating, took it down. Inners, brown sugar, a little bit of that butterscotch element going on. A little touch of candy corn. The cinnamon kind of shows up. Hint of clove. Almost just a little bit of baking spices, let's just call it that. They kind of warm thing up on the mid palate. But then it transitions, and as soon as it rolls over on the mid palate, you start getting a lot of almost espresso and darker chocolates kind of rolling over on the back end, heading into the oak. Still plenty of red fruits that come in. And they actually come up very early, and it's a mix of red berries. I would call this just kind of like a combination of cooked red berries and a little bit of dried red berries as well. Wow, the oak and tobacco kind of come in on the very back end here. It's a very, very nice bourbon. Is it going to be the best one of the line? No, it's not going to be the best one of the line. But it is pretty interesting. And what that grain is adding, I'm imagining, is going to be that butterscotch note. And probably that coffee espresso bean type element is probably coming from that grain. Everything else just kind of noses and tastes just like a really good bourbon would. It's not hot, but a really good sweet bourbon, let's say it like that. Yeah, the sweet characteristics, caramel, brown sugar, a little caramel, red berries rushing in, a little dried, cinnamon, little baking spices warming things up. Little hint of eucalyptus right there on the mid palate. That was that mint that I was picking up on the nose. And then as it rolls, it starts getting there. It's that little touch of espresso bean, leather, tobacco starts dropping in. The dark chocolate starts dropping in, laying out on the finish. And that little bit of coconut, a little bit of a roasted coconut in there as well. And then on the back end, you're chewing on a lot of that sweet, rich oak, a little bit of the red fruits, and a little bit of that roasted coconut. It's very enjoyable. And at $70, which the retail should be, yeah, that's a buy all day. I would love to have that to be able to just, drink, no big deal. Of course, back in the day, you were probably buying this quality for probably about $20, $30. And you could get it readily. Of course, that's not where we're at, but this is a very, very good expression from E.H. Taylor. I'm very happy with it. Again, would I pay, let's say, $500 for it? Personally, no. I wouldn't. It's good. It's not anything to go crazy over. But that kind of goes for most bourbons, A lot of bourbons are hitting 1,000 and up. Are they really worth that? Most of the time I'm gonna say no. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you would like for me to compare this one and maybe even rank them 1 through 6, then join me over at my Patreon page, because I think I'm going to do that video next. I'm going to taste each one of these, give little notes on each ones, and then rank them my favorite to least favorite. And I'm going to do that at patreon.com/liquorhound, where you become a member and a supporter of mine for only $5 a month, $10 if you feel generous. I'd really appreciate that. Of course, that's how I'm funding this from now on. So please join me over there, check out that video and all my others. But thank y'all for watching. I really do appreciate your support here on YouTube. Keep leaving all those great comments. And of course, you can always catch me over on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Liquorhound. Thank y'all so much. Everybody have a great day, and cheers.